Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Teachable Moments on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with Dr. Mekia Troy. But first, we want to give a shout out to our partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, We Coach, the global community of women in high school sports, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You've heard me say before, these are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. And now, please don't hit that fast forward button. We're going to give our sponsors a shout out. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Do I need to say anything more? Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to help you set up and sell your tickets online. It's more support, more security, more customization. And the entire Hometown team is here to help you make the best solution. That's hometownticketing.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a wonderful way to showcase your school's diverse history, your proudest moments, and your top role models. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Are you tired of spending hours and weeks on fundraisers that take too much time and give you little, if any, results? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com/EDAD. Hands down, the best fundraising platform out there online. We use SnapRaise at our school with great success, and so will you. They also have a lot of other powerful tools like Snap Manage, Snap Store, Snap Connect, and a really cool one called FanX. And if you go to Snap Raise, you're automatically entered in a $1,500 drawing for your next Snap Raise fundraiser. That's snapraise.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper for their support. Gipper is the official social media graphic solution for the podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team will show you how to start creating world-class content for your school's social media channel. If you're not celebrating your athletes and promoting your teams on social media, you're really missing out. Gipper is used and trusted by over 3,000 athletic programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. So simple, even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids up to their highest level. Go to Huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo to see their score boards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. We'd like to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is the official high school and state association management platform for us. It's also your one-stop for things like athletic eligibility and clearance, scheduling, facilities, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just great, and you're going to love it too. To get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using some kind of survey for your parents, your coaches, or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your players and your student athletes. The information that you get from your survey is going to be overwhelmingly positive because most folks do support what you're doing. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Mention the podcast. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Teachable Moment on the Educational AD podcast. If you're new to the series, every week we sit down with Dr. Mekia Troy. She's a certified master athletic administrator. She's also the director of athletics at Creekside High School in Georgia, very active at the state and the national level, part of the national faculty. Dr. Troy, welcome back. Okay, hope you're having a good transition to winter sports. Again, for our listeners, we're recording this on November 13th, so it's going to be pretty timely when you're listening to it. What do you have for our listeners today on Teachable Moment?
Hello again. Glad to be back to share with you as we transition, as you said, into winter sports. Ready to move inside to get out of the cold. But yeah, today, so this topic may not be for everyone, but it's definitely something that I wish I had heard about when I was a new athletic administrator, and that was just branding, branding your athletic department. And I think there's maybe a misconception that only a new school would be interested in something like that. But no, there are times where even the more traditional schools that have been around sometimes, you might need a rebrand or just a refresh of your brand. Yeah, that's, of course, logos and things of that nature, but also the behavior or the culture of your schools that also represents the brand of what it is that you're offering. So your coaches, your student athletes, you're all representing the school out to the community, out to the public as you go into these different arenas and places to play, and you are carrying the brand with you. So it does go a little bit beyond just that team logo. I will say a shout out to our course, the Leadership Training Course 706. I'm a part of the faculty for. We have a section in our presentation that is about the logo never coming off. And as athletic administrators, coaches, people make a connection to you and your school from whether you have that logo on, if they just, hey, that face looks familiar, and they know it's you. So you want to make sure that you are up on what your brand is, and you are representing that brand very well in the way that you carry yourself. Our job description as athletic administrators has expanded so much in recent years, and branding and marketing, things that we probably never studied, have become a big part of it to make sure that, we are getting the message out about our school and what we stand for. Whether that's, your logos, your mottos, and those things being shared on social media, and other people being able to get on board with what it is that you as a program stand for. And that goes a long way. Within our school, I don't mind our teams having individual themes for their season and things like that. However, at the end of the day, we've got a motto within our athletic department that we push. We have a logo that I want to see, and no matter what we do. So it's no different than Nike having other avenues within sportswear that they use. But at the end of the day, we all know what the swoosh means and where that comes from. So I want the same type of consistency within our athletic department. This branding conversation is near and dear to my heart, because I ran into an issue my very first year as an athletic administrator with copyright infringement with a logo that we modified that came from a college that I won't mention, but if you know our school, you can probably figure it out. But during that time, I didn't create the logo. I was brand new in the position. I was not the one responsible for modifying the logo, but I used it just like everyone else did. But in that moment, that first summer as athletic director, to get a cease and desist letter from some big attorneys, that'll make you stop in your tracks. And that's exactly what happened. It was a lot to take on in that first year, but with support from our legal team within our school district, we were able to make some changes, and I was able to create a group to help us, come up with our own brand, our own logo that we could say, this is us. And no one could say, oh, you took that or you modified this or that. No, this is us now. So I was able to work with another alum of the school to, consider our history and come up with something else. And in doing that, we've been able to establish a brand that represents who we are now and who we want to be going forward, establishing a model for our athletic department, our school, that's embedded into what we do now so many years later. And I think one of my proudest moments is when I'm out in public and someone sees our logo, even if it doesn't have words, and they know, hey, that's your school. And I appreciate that, because I think it means that we've done a good job of making sure that our brand is getting out there, and that when you see our brand, you're not turning your nose up. We are representing the brand well. So I understand now a bit more how that other school felt when we were using their brand, and without permission, because now we have a brand that I don't want to see someone using without our permission either. But thankfully we have the K-12 licensing program through the NFHS that'll help you to protect your brand the same way that college had support to protect their brand. So we as athletic administrators on the high school level have that same type of opportunity. So, once you've gotten your brand established, identify it, push it out to everyone, and make sure that your department is representing that brand at all times and doing it well.
I'm sure you are familiar too. There's a lot more high schools than there are colleges and universities, and fans are fans, and they want that little bit of identification. When you got hit with that letter, was any part of the process reaching back to the school and saying, hey, can we license this? I know of one major university, D1, that they licensed their logo to high schools for $1. They got to pay $1. Was there any conversation like that during the process?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I learned a whole lot about that process during that time. And I learned about the schools with the licensing for $1 or whatever. We were not given the option. We would have loved to have just paid a fee. And, of course, you feel bad. And at the time, the school had been, I don't know, 20 years around, and this is who we are. And that one of our athletes was actually playing football at the school at that time. So it was all just very strange, the timing of it all. But it would have been nice. But looking back on it now, I'm glad that we were able to establish ourselves to have a different identity. So there's no question when you see it that it's us.
Right. No, and again, I think that's the point that the takeaway is, you involve the community, you involve the school, and now, hey, that logo is yours. And, if somebody wants to use that, you can choose to, license it for $1 or something else or not. But very cool. Great story. Glad you shared that. I think it's something a lot of people don't consider when they're starting a new school and taking that, let's say NFL logo or NBA logo, because oh boy, that looks really cool, and we have the same school colors. We can save on gear. Yeah.
Save on gear and paying legal fees.
Exactly. Yeah. Dr. Troy, always great to spend time with you. If one of our listeners wants to spend a little bit more, reach out and pick your brain. And listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Dr. Troy Me, or email drtroyme@gmail.com. Be happy to chat.
Dr. Mekia Troy, thanks again for sharing with us, and all the best as we continue marching toward the NADC conference. For our listeners, of course, we appreciate you listening too, and we do this every single week, and we also upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on another teachable moment, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. Before we go, we do want to thank our sponsors, Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to check out their products. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com, learn how to set up your school for online ticketing. We'd like to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. It's the official social media graphics solution for the podcast. Their team's going to show you how to create world-class content for your social media channel. That's Gipper.com. We'd like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform. If you need help with eligibility and clearance, with scheduling, with tracking your coaches, go to homecampus.com and get signed up. We'd like to thank Snap. Snap Mobile is the parent company. Snap Raise is the fundraising branch. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. It works. Go to snapraise.com. TEACHABLE.com/EDAD for more information. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards, your school's Hall of Fame, or just tell more compelling stories about your school's diverse history, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. They're on a mission to help bring your school's legacy to life. vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to thank Athletic Surveys. In my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for parents, for kids, for coaches. And the information that came back was extremely valuable. It's almost always over the top positive. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com to get started. And we'd like to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com to get signed up. That's it for this episode of Teachable Moment. Come back next week for another great session with Dr. Mekia Troy, and just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast.